In this video, I will demonstrate how to sew a flat button with a thread shank. The thread shank creates that space needed between the fabric and your garment. You may ask, why don't we just use a button with an included shank? Well, because that's not always an option. To create that space needed for the shank, we will be utilizing this very high-tech tool called a toothpick. Find your mark. In this case, it will be on piece number 4 of your sampler. Use a double strand of thread, waxed and knotted. Make sure you have all of your supplies handy, such as your toothpick, to create the thread shank button. Start, as with all other buttons, by taking a tiny stitch in place in the center of your mark. Thread the needle through an upper buttonhole from the bottom to the top. Lay your toothpick in the center. Wrap the toothpick by sewing into the opposite hole, pushing the needle through to the reverse side of the fabric. Make sure your button is centered on your dot. To help hold the button in place, stitch to the next set of holes and wrap the toothpick as before. Now that the button is secure, go through each set of holes 3 times. Remember to take small stitches and always to check your work on the reverse side. This next part is a little bit tricky, creating the shank. Come up in that area between the button and the fabric. Pull out the toothpick. There is now a stem between the button and the fabric. You are going to wrap around that stem 5 times. Pinch the fabric between your thumb and your forefinger at the base of the stem. Wrap with your dominant hand. To knot off your thread, bring the fabric back to expose the stitches, passing the needle through and forming your loop. Pass the needle through the loop and repeat as necessary for strength. In this case, my thread just broke, so I will trim my tail close to the knot. If you have double fabric, you can also hide that tail in the seam allowance. And that's how you create your own shank out of thread.